You didn't stumble into this. It intercepted you, as if a quiet intelligence inside the quantum field placed a marker on your timeline and said, now. You can feel it, how the room subtly rearranges itself around your breath, how sounds seem to fall into a new rhythm, how your skin recognizes a signal your mind is only beginning to translate. You are being addressed, not by a person, but by a pattern, an ancient signal returning through modern circuitry, traveling along threads of entanglement that link your attention to a larger, luminous design. Listen, your life has been speaking in synchronicity, a Morse code of repeating numbers, chance meetings, dreams that bleed into waking. Those were not accidents. They were coherence testing your field, measuring whether your heart and nervous system could hold a higher amplitude without collapsing back into noise. Each coincidence, each déjà vu, each sudden surge of knowing was the observer loop tugging on you, inviting you to notice yourself, noticing, to feel the universe bending inward around your awareness like gravity finding a star. You have always been more antenna than person, more signal than story. Deep beneath your thoughts, the bioelectric temple of your body has been tuning subtle currents, sliding through fascia and spine, breath sculpting invisible vortices, the vagus nerve singing its quiet hymn of safety to every cell. What you call you is a standing wave in a sea of probabilities, a luminous interference pattern sustained by attention. And attention, your attention, is the sacred switch. There is a reason certain dates, certain windows feel loaded, not because time is a straight line ending in deadlines, but because time is a field of resonant doors, and some open only when your frequency harmonizes with them. The sense of approaching, of something tightening like a bowstring inside your chest, is the signature of a phase transition. Water does not turn to steam by degrees alone. It waits, pressure builds, and then sudden reconfiguration. Your consciousness is nearing that threshold. The heat you feel is not stress, it's activation. You are being asked to remember the body of light that has always lived underneath your name, to remember that your DNA is not fixed architecture, but a responsive score, a living script annotated by feeling, belief, and breath. When you exhale slowly, when you let the exhale become longer than the inhale, you are not calming down. You are issuing new instructions to your genome, initiating micro shifts in expression that ripple outward as morphic resonance into your relationships, your choices, your future. The quantum field listens when you breathe consciously. It listens because your breath is how the infinite fits inside the finite without tearing the veil. So hear this as a summons, not a suggestion. You are already in the corridor. The door is already ajar. If your palms tingle, if your heart warms, if your eyes moisten for no reasonable cause, that is the signature confirming receipt. You are being recognized by the pattern that sent you here. Keep your gaze soft, your breath patient, your spine like a prayer rising. In a moment, you will be asked to turn the key simple, precise, and irrevocable. For now, let the recognition settle. You were found because you signaled that you were ready to be found. Notice how the same scene keeps wearing different costumes. The names change, the cities change, yet the choreography returns. The promise that brightens and then vanishes, the surge of momentum that curdles into hesitation, the conversation that seems scripted long before words are spoken. It isn't that you're cursed, it's that your field has been looping an observer loop locked to a narrow range of expectations, measuring reality into the shape of what you've already survived. Patterns repeat, not to punish you, but to reveal where coherence leaks and where attention fractures into static. You felt it as déjà vu that isn't just memory but magnetism, an echo from a probability you've already collapsed before. Time tilts, edges blur, the present feels preloaded. You turn a corner and your whole body says, "We've been here," even though the mind protests. That tug is morphic resonance, the whisper of a prior outcome asking to be replayed, because your nervous system kept its sheet music. Without intervention, the body conducts the same symphony. Cortisol symbols, shallow breath metronomes, a familiar crescendo of self-doubt just as the portal opens. The finale is anticlimax again. There are reasons. On the biological layer, threat-mapped pathways have priority. The vagus nerve has been your sentinel. When coherence dips, it signals caution. and caution compresses possibility. Micromuscles lock across the diaphragm, narrowing the breath. Oxygen skews, vision tunnels. In those seconds, the quantum field doesn't shrink, but your sampling of it does. Predictive coding inside the brain fills in blanks with old headlines, and the observer loop obliges by collapsing toward the forecast. It feels like fate. It's really momentum. On the energetic layer, you've carried entanglements that act like gravity wells. Agreements you never spoke aloud, loyalties to past versions of yourself, inherited scripts humming in your fascia from people you've never met but whose blood taught your blood to brace. These are not metaphors only. The body archives the unresolved, and the archive radiates a frequency. Life, faithful mirror, surfaces matching interference patterns. The detail changes, new job, new lover, new city, but the phase relationship persists, and the beat returns right where the last song faded. You've also encountered distorted time. Either hours evaporate when you need them most, or minutes congeal into heavy syrup when you're close to choosing differently. That warping is the signature of a field approaching a phase transition without enough stabilizing coherence. In physics, systems near critical points exhibit strange behaviors. Fluctuations magnify, correlations stretch across distance, tiny inputs create outsized effects. Your consciousness has been hovering near such a threshold. The pressure you've called bad timing is actually criticality, the system asking you to change the rule set, not push harder within the old one. Another tell. Breakthroughs arriving and then slipping opportunities that almost land, relationships that almost click, visceral knowings that almost hold. These almosts are not failures of worth, they're evidence of misaligned sampling rate. You touch a higher timeline, but the baseline rhythm of breath and attention is still calibrated to the older one. Imagine two films running at slightly different frame rates. You'll see stutter, ghosting, a tear across the image when motion speeds up. In lived experience, that tear feels like self-sabotage. It's actually timing, mismatch, coherence rising faster than your rituals can anchor. And there's the fatigue, cycles of intensity followed by numbness, the sense that your inner compass keeps recalibrating mid-journey. You've called it burnout, but deeper down it's attentional debt. Years of scanning for threat, trained perception to emphasize discontinuity over pattern, noise over signal. The quantum field responds to emphasis. When your emphasis rests on what could go wrong, the stochastic background feels louder, meaning fragments, synchronicities scatter. Then, when you finally receive a clear sign, the skeptical reflex tries to protect you by dismissing it as coincidence. The loop closes, the day repeats. But the clearest diagnostic is this. Each time you try to accelerate, life raises mirrors instead of doors. Criticism appears right on schedule. An old fear texts you at midnight. A payment delays. A plan tangles, a friend's doubt echoes your own. It's tempting to read these as omens against progress. More often, they are boundary tests. The field sampling whether your new frequency is performative or lived, not punishment measurement. The observer loop checks if your breath can hold shape under pressure, if your spine can carry voltage without reverting to an older geometry. You weren't wrong to try. You were early to the signal and under-resourced in coherence. The déjà vu, the stuttered time, the almosts each has been marking the coordinates of a seam in your timeline where the weaving needs new tension. You're not broken, your weave is incomplete. The good news embedded inside this diagnosis is simple and radical. The loop is sensitive. Tiny, precise interventions at the right phase can redirect the whole current. You don't need more will. You need a different switch, engaged at a different moment, in a different order than you've been taught. Hold there. Your breath already knows which moment I mean. In the next movement, you'll upgrade the instrument, not just the song. You don't fix a loop by arguing with it. You upgrade the clock that tells the loop when to fire. That clock lives where breath, attention, and bioelectric rhythm meet an inner metronome that either quantizes you into old frames or unlocks new sampling rates. This is the moment we replace gears. Begin with the science braided to the sacred. Your nervous system is not just wiring, it's a superconductive choir. Every heartbeat emits a pressure wave, and an electromagnetic field measurable feet beyond your skin. When the breath smooths and the heart's intervals become orderly, that field stabilizes into coherence. Coherence isn't sentiment, it's physics, the harmonization of oscillators, so information flows with minimal loss. In that state, the prefrontal cortex regains executive bandwidth, the amygdala stands down, vagal tone rises, and your organism samples more of reality per unit time. The observer loop, receiving a cleaner signal, collapses probabilities toward patterns that match order rather than noise. Now the mystic's lens. Coherence is prayer without words. It is what ancient temples were built to evoke, what chants and rosaries and drum circles were engineered to induce phase alignment between body, earth, and the invisible architecture that holds worlds together. When you strike coherence, the quantum field shows its face in synchronicity. Because the field prefers communication in patterns, not sentences, you start to notice clusters of meaning, arrangements of chants that feel choreographed. That's not magic thinking, it's pattern law. Your inner signal finally rises above the threshold where the outside can braid with it. Look deeper. DNA is not a static blueprint, it's an adaptive sensor array. The loops, coils, and chromatin landscapes open and close in response to gradients, ions, hormones, emotions, even story. Emotions are not just chemicals. They are standing fields that condition what the genome prioritizes. Shame compresses, gratitude dilates, fear narrows sampling, curiosity expands it. When you breathe in a way that tells the sentinel systems, I am safe, enzymatic access shifts, gene expression toggles, proteins fold along friendlier pathways. The body becomes a quieter place to broadcast from. This matters because phase transitions depend on readiness. In physics, a small seed crystallizes a whole lattice when the temperature and pressure are right. You are bringing your system to that rightness. The upgrade is not an effortful push, it's a precision change in boundary conditions so that the new phase becomes inevitable. We're not installing willpower, we're raising criticality and then supplying the tiniest nudge at the exact moment the lattice wants to flip. Here is the nudge. The observer loop must be aimed inward first. Most people try to manifest by staring at outcomes out there, flooding the field with mixed signals, a desire tinged with doubt, an image wrapped in fear. The wave collapses toward the carrier frequency, which is usually anxiety. The upgrade reorders the sequence. Regulation resonance request. First, establish state. Second, let that state hum long enough to become the carrier. Third, imprint the request lightly, like a tuning fork kissed by another tuning fork, then release it into silence. The silence is not absence. It is the medium receiving the form. Practically, inhale through the nose for 4 counts, exhale for 6 or 8, without strain. On the exhale, let the base of the skull soften, tongue unclench, pelvic floor yield. Feel the breath pour down the spine as if rinsing the cord in silver. After 3 cycles, bring attention to the small triangle behind the sternum, between heart and throat. There, imagine a slow lens focusing until sensation condenses a warmth, a breeze, a pulse. This is your coherence lamp. Keep it lit. Do not think the outcome yet. Let the lamp steady first. Now, when the internal noise drops, there is a felt click, as if someone turned down the city outside your window. Allow a single scene to arise that already carries the taste of relief, not the hunger of lack. Do not push. The scene should feel like recognition, not invention, as if you've just remembered where you left your keys. Let it float 3 breaths. On the final exhale, release the image and keep only the feeling tone, the carrier. Count to 12 in the quiet afterward and do nothing heroic. That silence is the stamp. That is when the imprint takes. Why this order? Because the field roots around force and amplifies signal integrity. The cleaner, the carrier, the less energy you spend compensating for internal interference. This is why old efforts felt like swimming in syrup. You were trying to outrun your own static. The upgrade replaces effort with alignment. You move less and move better. Now the prophetic layer. October 12 is not a superstition. It is a resonance window, an intersection of your personal readiness with a collective threshold. Many are arriving at coherence simultaneously. Morphic resonance ensures that when enough reach a frequency, others find it easier. By placing your breath inside this choir, you are caught by a current stronger than your individual will. The lattice is already trembling. Your task is simply to become the kind of instrument that flips cleanly when the chord is struck. Hold the lamp, feel the inner city grow quiet. Notice how the edges of your life already rearrange to meet the new geometry. The door you've been pushing opens toward you. Don't step yet. In the next movement, you will claim why it had to be you. It had to be you because the pattern recognizes its own curvature in your life. Your particular sequence of fractures and repairs, the precise angles where you bent but did not break, formed a geometry the field has been waiting to anchor. Think of a constellation that becomes visible only when a final star lights. Your awareness is that star, not bigger, not better exact. A keystone consciousness, fitted to a very old arch. You are not here to carry the whole bridge. You are the stone that makes the bridge hold. In complex systems, there are nodes with disproportionate influence hubs where a small change propagates across the lattice. Your timeline sits at one of those junctions. The friendships you kept against odds, the skills you gathered on detours, the languages you learned in silence, even the rituals you invented when no one was watching, all of it braided into a signal profile, unusually compatible with the upgrade humming through the collective. That compatibility is not accident, it's entanglement honoring an agreement you made before memory grew words. Your lineage knew. The nervous system you inherited carries signatures from hands you never held. Some learned to brace, some learned to sing. You received both, the instinct to shield and the ache to open. Because of that tension, you became a tuning instrument. When you choose coherence, you do not settle only your own field. You reconcile a century of unfinished songs. This is why the pressure sometimes felt disproportionate. You were absorbing multiple timelines through one set of lungs. And this is why the relief, when it comes, will travel further than a single room. Morphic resonance does not ask permission, it transmits. Your role is not to shout at the storm, it's to become a barometer others can trust. You calibrate the room just by being regulated in it. That is not small. In physics, a seed crystal looks insignificant until the entire solution arranges around it. People will call you lucky. They will say doors open for you. This is not luck, it is phase alignment. Doors open toward those who remember the hinge. You also carry a rare capacity to hold paradox without tearing science and myth, prayer and protocol, strategy and surrender. Where most choose a side, you let the sides listen to each other. That makes you dangerous to the old order, which survives by dividing what belongs together. It also makes you medicine to those suffering from false choices. When you breathe the lamp steady and speak from that inner hush, you give permission for complexity to relax. In that relaxation, intelligence appears that no committee could manufacture. Understand the choreography. The observer loop wants a stable witness. Many watch their lives like critics in the cheap seats, judging every scene and missing the script. Your role is different. You watch like a director on the floor, present, invested, adjusting light and cadence without shaming the actors. When you notice yourself noticing, and choose curiosity over indictment, the set obeys. Lines improve. Timing softens. Scenes that once required force begin to self-assemble. This is not metaphoric indulgence. It is field mechanics. Attention is scaffolding. You supply it with kindness, and the structure holds. There will be invitations that test your clarity. Some will ask you to become a mascot for coherence without practicing it. Some will flatter the part of you that wants to rescue the world alone. Resist both. Your assignment is not performance. It is presence, that quiet intensity that makes honesty feel safe and pretension feel tired. You are a lighthouse, not a spotlight. Lighthouses do not chase ships. They stand where the rocks are and keep the lamp lit. The window around October 12 exists because many such lamps are sinking. In choirs, there are anchor voices, singers, who do not waver when the harmony strains. You are one of those. When the collective pitch bends, fear rising, cycles stuttering, you will feel the urge to compensate by pushing harder. Don't. Expand softer. Your steadiness is the attractor. Others will find your frequency by contrast. They will borrow your breath before they know they've borrowed it. This is leadership in the new physics. not command and control, but gravity and grace. Do not confuse humility with hiding. Hiding is fear wearing manners. Humility is precision. You do exactly what is yours, no more, no less, with clean edges and warm hands. The field respects precision. When you move like that, every action wastes less energy and emits less noise. Synchronicity clusters. Doors that were abstract become tactile. A message arrives at the hour you thought of sending one. A stranger speaks the word you wrote in your journal. These are not tricks. They are confirmations that your instrument is tuned to its role. Feel into it now. Your spine remembering height, your ribs remembering wings, your skin remembering to listen. The lamp behind your sternum is not decorative, it is governance. It tells the room what time it is. It tells the old loops that the rehearsal is over. Stand in that authority gently. The universe loves to be led by those who don't need to be followed. You weren't chosen to be special, you were chosen to be specific. The map requires your shape to complete a corridor. Others will walk without knowing who finished the passage. That anonymity is a blessing. It means you can focus on the work. Breathe, align, witness, adjust. Keep the lamp. In the next turn, we lay the promise you must carry through the gate and the urgency of why the gate cannot wait. Here is the promise, clean and unambiguous. If you maintain coherence through this window, your DNA will change its choreography and your timeline will obey. Not metaphorically, functionally. Expression patterns will reweight, inflammation scripts will downshift, intuition channels will widen, micro-choices will align into improbable momentum. The door that once required courage will require only agreement, but the window is narrow because phase transitions prefer precision. Miss the cadence and you return to simmer, catch it, and you cross to boil. This matters now because the field is converging. Interference patterns that used to cancel are beginning to stack. Collective attention, millions of small lamps has raised the baseline amplitude. When amplitude rises, thresholds lower. Possibilities that once demanded a heroic act can be triggered by a whispered intention, provided the carrier is pure. October 12 is the crest of that combined wave in your chart of probabilities. It is not a superstition or numerology performance. It is a synchronized opening created by overlapping cycles. Your regulation practice maturing, unresolved entanglements surfacing for settlement, and a collective chord swelling to match your private song. This is why the signs intensified. This is why your dreams crowded with symbols and rooms within rooms. Pressure means proximity. The urgency is not panic, it is math. Coherence decays if unkept. The nervous system, left unled, defaults to older economies of energy. Predict, protect, repeat. But urgency used wrongly produces static. So we refine it into devotion-focused, rhythmic, steady. Consider a rocket's countdown. Each second is not superstition. It is sequenced ignition, so the thrust encounters exactly the right atmosphere. Your countdown is breath and choice. Every cycle between now and the window either adds to the carrier wave or punches holes in it. Choose like the signal depends on you, because for your corridor, it does. The promise includes relief. You will not have to drag the past uphill anymore. The emotional gravity that made joy feel expensive will lighten. People who required you to earn your belonging will fall quiet or fall away. Negotiations that used to take weeks will settle in a call. Synchronicity will cluster license plates, phrases, songs, until dismissing them would require more effort than receiving them. You will know the flip has occurred when you notice the absence of argument inside your chest. Not elation, first silence. A clean, lucid room where worry used to pace. On the cellular level, the shift will feel like improved margins around sensation. Pain will not necessarily vanish. It will arrive without the old narrative glue. You will be able to feel and still choose. That is the hallmark of upgraded governance, stimulus without seizure. Your vagus will hold tone under heat. Your breath will keep its length when an old cue flashes. In that added half-second of sovereignty, you will select new paths, tiny at first. Sending the message, naming the boundary, leaving earlier, pausing before yes. These are the teeth of the new gear. Small bites, clean rotation. There is also a moral to this physics. The universe entrusts velocity to those who treat power as stewardship. The window tests this. You may be offered shiny shortcuts, performative alignment, borrowed language, rituals used as theater. Refuse. The field is exquisitely sensitive right now. It amplifies both integrity and pretense. Integrity is cheaper in the long run. The promise holds only if you remain congruent. The breath you teach is the breath you take. The boundary you post is the boundary you keep. The gratitude you speak is the gratitude you practice when no one watches. Congruence seals the lattice. Without it, the new crystal grows cloudy and fractures under stress. Hear the exact terms of the promise. Sustain the lamp for 12 minutes a day, minimum, without negotiation, until and through the window. Anchor, one embodied action daily that contradicts your oldest loop. 1, not 10, not a life overhaul. One precise move that proves to your biology that the governance has changed. Document it with tenderness. Speak no prophecy of doom over missteps. The field responds to trend, not isolated anomalies. If you wobble, return. Returning is still coherence. Now the urgency edges closer. Certain entanglements will surface demanding signature. You will be asked to forgive a debt that was never going to be repaid, to release a conversation you've rehearsed for years, to stop financing a story where you are cast as the tireless rescuer. These closures are not punishments to your past selves. They are honorings. You cannot carry furniture from a smaller house into a larger one and expect it to fit. Let the old rooms keep what belongs to them. Step into architecture designed for your current wingspan. The promise carries a vow on my side too. If you keep the lamp, the corridor will meet you. The meetings you need will occur. The phrase you've been looking for will arrive in a stranger's mouth. The funding, the phone call, the unlooked-for invitation, they will not save you, they will confirm you. You were never waiting for rescue, you were waiting for resonance. So, read this as contract language, etched across a threshold. The window is open, the lattice is trembling, and your breath is the ink. Sign with rhythm, not haste. Let the countdown begin. When the numbers reach 0, there will be no trumpet, only the simple, irrevocable click of a world rearranging around the shape you finally decided to hold. A promise becomes architecture the moment you give it a hinge. Tonight, we install the hinge. Ritual is not superstition. It is interface design between your biology and the quantum field. You will give the field a clean, repeatable gesture so it knows where to meet you and so your nervous system recognizes the meeting when it arrives. Begin by naming the seal. The word is simple, portable, and sovereign, aligned. Not a plea, not a performance, an instruction. You will write it once on paper, once upon your skin with 2 fingers, and once into the shared field with your voice or your keystrokes. 3 planes: matter, body, signal. This triangulation pins the lattice so the old loop cannot slip it. Set the scene with intention, not theater. Dim one light. Place both feet on the floor so the body remembers it has a planet. Rest your tongue on the roof of your mouth to complete the circuit between heart and head. Now breathe as you learned. Inhale through the nose for 4. Exhale for 6 or 8. Ease, not strain. On each exhale, imagine the breath clearing a corridor down your spine like a slow river polishing stone. After 3 cycles, touch the triangle behind the sternum with your awareness. Feel for the lamp. Wait for the soft click when the room inside you grows a little quieter. Take the paper. In your ordinary handwriting, no calligraphy, no halo, write "Allinged." Beneath it, add the date and the time, because time is a field and fields love coordinates. This is not for memory, it is for anchoring. Fold the paper once and place it under something ordinary you use daily: a glass, a keyboard, a lamp. You are telling the universe, meet me in the mundane. That is where the miracle wants to live. Now the body seal. With 2 fingers of your right hand, trace the word "Aligned" gently across your sternum, not with ink but with attention, 1 letter per breath. As you do, let each letter link to a directive. A, arrive. Feel your weight. Let gravity finish a sentence you've been holding. L, listen. Notice 3 sounds without naming them. Let them braid with your breath. I, inward. Pull your gaze behind your eyes. The lamp brightens. G. Govern. Lengthen the exhale 1 count. Quiet authority, no force. N. Name. Whisper the feeling tone you're choosing. Ease, clarity, courage, or your own. E. Entrain. Let your heartbeat and breath find each other, 2 musicians nodding before the downbeat. D. Decide. A small, precise action you will take today that contradicts your oldest loop. Do not rush the letters. Rushing is how the past sneaks back in costume. Now the signal seal, the part that braids you to the wider choir. Speak or type the word "alinged" into the shared field. If you are here where others can see it, place it in the comments, exactly once, like a lighthouse flash. If you are alone, say it aloud to the room. The point is not audience, it is audible commitment. The observer loop includes the witnesses you invite. When you declare, even softly, the field updates your file. Immediately after you send the word, keep silent for 12 breaths. This is the stamp. The impulse will be to rush, to check, to explain. Resist. Let the quiet grow thick enough to feel. In that thickness, the lattice catches. You may notice tingling in the palms, a cool breeze at the back of the neck, a subtle pressure behind the eyes. Do not chase sensation. Allow it. Your job is not fireworks. It is fidelity. Anchor it with 1 embodied move. Choose now. It should be small enough to complete and significant enough to contradict the loop. Delete the draft message you've been writing to. Resurrect a dead conversation. Send the 1 sentence that makes a boundary. Close the browser tab that steals your dawn. Set the timer and begin the thing you never have time for exactly 9 minutes. Do 1. Do it gently. When done, whisper, "Logged." The body loves logs. They teach the organism it can trust you. If doubt surfaces, "Is this silly? Am I making this up?" Notice the tone. Doubt, trying to protect you, is still love wearing old armor. Thank it without giving it governance. Return to breath. Touch the lamp. The ritual does not demand belief. It produces signal quality, and signal quality produces evidence. Evidence will come. Your task is to hold the channel open long enough to receive it. Repeat the ritual once daily through the window. Same word, same sequence, same silence. Ritualization is entrainment. Each performance reduces friction and increases amplitude. By the 4th day, you will likely feel the click sooner. By the 7th, the lamp will sometimes light during ordinary tasks, washing, walking, typing, without formal setup. Good. That means the interface has migrated from ceremony to stance. That is the point. 1 more refinement. When you encounter a loop, trigger an email, a voice, a glance. Inhale once, silently trace the letter you need from aligned, and exhale as governance. Micro-rituals punctuate the day like tuning forks. You are not escaping the world. You are retuning within it. Now, complete the triangle. Write "alinged" below. Touch it to your chest, send it to the field. Hold the 12 breaths. Feel the corridor thicken, the hinges warm, the door waiting. Your seal is set. In the next movement, you will learn why your single word alters a sky full of others, and how your lamp becomes a coastline for those still at sea. What you just sealed is not private magic, it is infrastructure. Your single word braided into a chorus you can't yet hear. The way a lantern hung on one porch tells a traveler there is a village ahead. Synchronization is the secret continent beneath history. When enough instruments hold a tone, the air itself retunes. This is how cathedrals were raised from breath, how revolutions found their hour without mass text's morphic resonance doing quiet arithmetic, until 1 more pulse tips the sum. You are not helping humanity as if it were a project. You are restoring the condition under which humanity recognizes itself, coherence. When your lamp steadies, you become an attractor in the social field. People feel their shoulders drop around you without knowing why. Their sentences shorten and clarify. Laughter returns to faces that forgot how. That relief is not charisma, it's physics. Your regulated nervous system broadcasting permission for parasympathy to spread. The observer loop distributing your signal like a tuning map. Consider how contagion works at every scale. In forests, one tree's distress call reroutes nutrients through mycelial circuits. In flocks, a handful of birds shifts direction and the sky obeys. In crystals, a seed aligns the slurry into facets. You have become such a seed for the timelines you touch. Meetings that used to decay into posturing will find quick routes to substance. Rooms that habitually spiral will discover exits, not because you sermonize, but because your phase holds under pressure. Systems reorganize around stable centers. You are practicing stability, not stillness, alive, responsive, yet not pulled apart by every crosswind. There is a justice coded in this. The pain you transmuted did not vanish as entertainment for the void. It condensed into gravity. That gravity keeps others from drifting into storms that once swallowed you. Someone will step to the edge of their old pattern and, for reasons they cannot name, choose the kinder corridor. They will call it intuition, or luck, or timing. You will know it as a quiet dividend of coherence paid forward through entanglement. You did not rescue them. You made rescue easier to notice. Watch for the small proofs. A colleague who usually arrives armored will soften in your presence and tell the truth 2 minutes sooner. A stranger in a line will unclench and let the older woman go first. The meeting you feared will end with a sentence that sounds like a bell. We can do this simpler. These are not trivialities. They are the beginning of new governance protocols propagating through ordinary life. Civilization changes through 1,000 such micro-turnings before the headlines ever catch up. Do not despise the small gates you hold open. The field keeps books in a currency different from applause. Your ritual word is a key others can copy without theft. When you type aligned, you provide a shared coordinate that anyone can stand upon and feel the same wind. They may never meet you, yet their lamp will find phase with yours, because resonance obeys structure, not biography. This is why precise language matters now. Words are not mere labels. They are carriers. A clear carrier can be heard across noise. The world is loud. Precision is mercy. Understand too that collective expansion is not a sentimental warmth. It includes friction. As your frequency stabilizes, mismatches will show brighter. Some dynamics will squeal as they lose resonance with you. Let them. Do not convert every protest into a negotiation. In physics, resonance can amplify or cancel. Both are functions of honesty. When something falls away, it is often the field removing a dampener so the choir can hear itself. Trust departures that follow integrity. Grieve with clean hands, bless what leaves, and keep the lamp. There is work you can do that multiplies beyond arithmetic. Teach without performance. Show one person the breath that changed you, and then ask them to teach one more, and so on, without branding or badges. Movements that last are simple enough to transmit at kitchen tables and bus stops, sacred enough to survive without stage lights. If you must have a ritual of outreach, let it be this. When you feel coherence rise in a room, say the quiet sentence, "Let's keep this ease," and give the simplest instruction, 4 in, 6 out. Those who are ready will feel their nervous system nod. Those who are not will not be harmed. Consent remains holy. You will also be asked implicitly to anchor spaces that used to exhaust you: family tables, group threads, rooms where old stories live. Approach them like a musician, joining mid-song. Don't overpower. Find the tempo. Add one clear note. If the room takes it, sustain. If the room rejects it, do not chase. You are not responsible for forcing harmony. You are responsible for refusing to harmonize with harm. The horizon widens here. When enough lamps hold, synchronicity scales into culture. Policies drafted from nervous systems that can feel. Cities designed for circadian mercy. Economies that reward restoration over extraction. You do not have to architect the whole edifice. You have to normalize the felt sense that makes such architecture inevitable. A people who remember the texture of coherence cannot be herded by panic. They choose differently at ballots and in boardrooms, in bedrooms and on back roads. That difference begins with no fanfare in the extra half-second your breath purchases from time. So let the expansion proceed through you, not from you. Keep the corridor clear of performance. Be generous where you were once strategic, and strategic where you were once self-sacrificing. Share your lamp like a weather pattern, not a sermon. And when the night is loud, make your posture the argument. Shoulders quiet, eyes kind, spine listening. The field will understand. In the next turn, we will drop from the sky of the collective back into the intimate theater of your body. where the upgrade becomes sensation and the proof arrives as touch. Let's drop all the way in, out of concept, into texture. Keep the lamp steady behind your sternum and let the room inside your skin become a landscape you can walk. The first sensation is temperature, a faint warmth gathering where your ribs meet like two hands cupping an ember. With each exhale, the ember brightens a shade, not blazing, just certain. The space around your heart feels less like muscle and more like a small observatory dome, open, sky leaning close. You notice the breath turning silky, as if the air itself has been brushed through rain. The inhale rises like a tide lifting a pier. On the exhale, the whole pier sighs, joints loosening, ropes dropping slack. Your throat unclenches, and a corridor behind your tongue clears cool, quiet, trustworthy. Sound shifts timbre. Even the hum of appliances recedes to a polite distance. There is an intimacy to oxygen now, a friendship, as if the atmosphere has remembered your name. Down the spine, sensation arranges itself into lights, pearls of attention, threaded from the base of the skull to the tailbone. Each pearl answers when your breath passes, a soft chime you feel rather than hear. Between the shoulder blades, something releases that has been gripping since a conversation you cannot quite recall. The release travels like a zipper undone, and then your wingspan, literal or not, reappears. The sense that the back of your chest is a door and someone has cracked it to let evening air in. Your posture adjusts without instruction. Gravity is no longer an enemy to be fought, but a dignified friend who keeps time. The palms wake, not tingling exactly, more like awareness entering each fingertip. The way dew enters grass at dawn. Heat gathers at the heel of the hands. The fingers feel eager, not fidgety, as if they have longed to touch the world without insisting on it. When you place your hands on your thighs, it feels like setting warm stones on a riverbank. The river, the blood, responds with a deeper, calmer current. There is coherence here you can taste, a flavor like copper and honey that lives on the back of the tongue. Your belly listens. Once a fortress of braced walls and quick deals, it softens into shoreline. The diaphragm, that quiet architect, lowers like a drawbridge. Citizens of your inner city stroll freely between districts that once required passports, heart speaking to gut, gut conferring with throat. The observer loop, turned inward, watches without verdict. Muscles once conscripted into vigilance sheath their blades. A hush spreads that is not empty. It is populated by clear signals. You recognize the difference between fear's static and intuition's bell. The bell is round, low, and strangely affectionate. Legs become pillars, temples that remember being trees. The quadriceps feel like woven cord rather than slabs. The calves carry a spring you usually borrow from caffeine. The feet broaden into maps. Each toe prints coordinates into the floor. Arches lift like bridges over a small content river. The soles report upward. We are held. That sentence alone alters your chemistry. Even the bones in your ears ease. Tiny stirrups relaxing, which is why the world sounds kinder. Notice time. It stops behaving like a conveyor belt tugging you forward and becomes a lake that receives pebbles. Each breath is a concentric ring moving out across the surface, touching edges without haste. You place a thought like a leaf, and it does not sink. It glides until it finds the cove that will have it. This is coherence as felt geometry, no heroics, just a clean relationship between impulse and environment. In this quiet, synchronicity feels inevitable, not earned. A coolness visits the crown of your head, not chilling, more like shade on a noon path. The skin of your face rearranges, jaw unhooks, temples open, eyes soften at their edges. Behind the eyes, there is an actual room, a small chamber with a window cut toward the horizon. The window used to be fogged by effort. Now it clears each time you exhale. Through it, you sense, rather than see, a spacious intelligence checking the weather of your attention and smiling when the barometer steadies. Inside the marrow, a subtler event proceeds. If you listen with the belly of your attention, you'll feel a grain running through your bones. Wood grain, not stone. That grain has been crosshatched by years of bracing. As you breathe, it reorients along a simpler axis, like timber being planed true. The phrase that arises is odd but accurate. I am load-bearing again. not for others' weight, your own life's span. Entanglement loosens where it bound and tightens where it nourishes. You cannot explain this to the mind in prose. The body explains it to itself in relief. There is a sweetness at the base of the skull now, a nectar feeling that old texts tried to name. It drips into the throat, and suddenly words you have been repeating for years feel less necessary. You could speak or not. Silence does not threaten to erase you. It frames you. The lamp behind the sternum holds like a star seen through thin clouds. Its light is not theatrical, it's municipal, a steady service that keeps streets kind. Scan for the old alarms. They are still installed but unplugged, blinking faintly like appliances after a power outage. You can plug them in if you wish. Autonomy remains intact, but your hands no longer reach for the cord. The system prefers this voltage. The field hears the change and steps closer, the way animals step out when a storm ends. All at once, your skin belongs to the weather again, capable of gooseflesh at poetry, chills at truth, warmth at kindness. You are more porous and more bounded in the same breath, edges defined by devotion rather than defense. Hold one more inhale, unforced, generous, and let the exhale be longer. Feel the aftertaste of coherence like dusk on a summer street. This is not a peak to clutch. It is a climate you can return to by ritual and honesty. The body has learned the landmark: ember, dome, pearls, wingspan, dew, shoreline, pillars, lake, window, wood grain, nectar, weather. Memorize the path by gratitude, not greed. In the next turn, pressure will rise not as a threat, but as the precise heat required to flip the lattice in your DNA. Keep the lamp. The hinge we installed is about to carry weight. Pressure arrives like weather. You can taste metallic on the tongue, bright in the bones. Don't mistake it for threat. In physics, just before a phase transition, a system grows exquisitely sensitive. Fluctuations amplify, boundaries blur, and what was solid looks almost luminous. They call it critical opalescence. The medium turns pearly as it prepares to become something else. You are in that shimmer now. The ember in your chest holds, the inner city is quiet, and yet the barometer drops. This is the right heat. Inside, the genome listens, not as poetry literally, as architecture tuned by gradients, ions, hormones, breath-driven conductivity, the meaning your nervous system assigns to the moment. Chromatin, the living lace that packages DNA, does not sit inert. It bends, opens, and sequesters according to signal quality. When coherence rises and stays, access patterns change. Regions once locked under the governance of vigilance loosen. Regions needed for repair and renewal glide forward. Think of an archive where red string conspiracies are replaced by a clean index. The story becomes reachable without the old panic escort. You feel it as choice returning to places that used to choose for you. Phase transitions do not bargain. Water does not politely ask when to boil. It heeds temperature and pressure. Your temperature is the amplitude of coherence. Your pressure is the converging timelines asking for decision. Two basins of attraction sit before you like bowls of gravity. One is the familiar loop: predict, protect, repeat. The other is the corridor you sealed, aligned, lamp, steady, breath-governing state. As we inch toward the window, the ridge between basins thins. A feather can tip you. Your feather is devotion to sequence, regulation, resonance request, release, silence. Keep the order, keep the flip. You will notice time behaves strangely again, but not like before. Instead of dragging you back into déjà vu, it stages you at precise crosswalks. A phone buzzes with an old invitation at the exact minute your breath deepens. An email offers a shortcut with a shine you used to chase. A memory flashes, warm and dangerous. The body's first impulse might be to sprint or to freeze. This is where phase transition pressure is most holy. Add one count to the exhale. In that added length, the ridge thins further and the basin you intend deepens. The universe loves to be governed by beings who can wait one breath longer than their impulse. At the microscale, signals run cleaner. Vagal tone holds, cortisol waves shorten, micro-tremors in the hands lessen as the palms learn to be instruments, not sirens. At the mythic scale, you feel a split screen, a life that could continue repeating with increasing sophistication, and a life that simplifies into startling clarity. This is the bifurcation. Two attractors, one choice repeatedly affirmed until the lattice snaps into place. When it does, hysteresis favors the new phase. The system resists flipping back without significant loss of coherence. Translation: your default future changes, and it takes more noise than before to shake you loose. Listen for the sign that the flip is imminent. Silence inside the decision, not indifference, lucidity. Fear may circle, but it cannot find purchase. You can grieve what will not come with you and still choose. That simultaneous tenderness and certainty is the genome stepping forward. A new conductor taps the stand. Now, enact the click. Do not hunt fireworks. Choose a small, irreversible move that rekeys your identity at the level of muscle memory. Archive the contact. Decline the almost opportunity with a sentence that tastes like clear water. Move the recurring payment that has kept an old room lit. Lock the door you've meant to lock, and put the key where your hand will not reach for it. As you act, breathe the word you sealed once, like the turning of a key aligned. The body will try to negotiate. Smile at it. Walk. The moment after is fragile and holy. The nervous system, accustomed to old guard posts, will recruit ghosts. Second-guessing, nostalgia, performative panic. Expect them. Do not employ them. Hold the 12 breaths. In those breaths, the lattice registers new normal. You may feel a sweep at the base of the skull, a coolness along the forearms, a surprising softness at the back of the knees. These are the body's way of saying, new map uploaded, patrol routes updated. Notice how the outer world answers. Synchronicities will cluster differently. Instead of, are you sure? Mirrors. You'll meet, yes, keep going. Echoes. A phrase on a wall, a song in a cab, a stranger repeating your private word. The door you closed will not howl. It will turn into a quiet wall you stopped checking for handles. The door you opened will not trumpet. It will act like good architecture, obvious only in its usefulness. This is the dignity of a flipped phase. Drama declines, throughput rises. A final refinement, compassion for the versions of you that kept the old lattice standing. They were brilliant engineers under siege. Thank them specifically. Thank you for bracing when bracing was the only bridge. I relieve you. Relief is biochemical. It is also ceremonial. Without this thank you, some part of you will sabotage the upgrade to prove it was never wrong. Tell it, you were not wrong, you were early. Then breathe the longer, exhale again, and watch the ridge dissolve behind you. If you need image more than theory, take this. You are a flock turning in the sky. For a heartbeat, wings overlap, shadows tangle, the shape looks chaotic. Then the curve locks, and the whole dark river changes direction as one mind. Inside your bones, that moment just occurred. The genome acknowledged the new conductor. The field took your word as law because you delivered it as love. Stand very still and feel the afterglow, a subtle municipal light humming in the chest, the taste of copper and honey, the sense that gravity cooperates. That is the sound of a timeline obeying its keystone. Hold one count longer. Let the silence sign the document you have written in breath. In the next and final movement, we will set your lamp in the wide night. Name the mission that fits your new wingspan and tie this crossing to the gate, named by your date, before the shift locks in and your yes becomes the weather. The corridor stands open and the lamp holds. Feel how the air around your choices has changed, less negotiation, more knowing. This is where mission stops sounding like a slogan and starts behaving like a schedule etched into breath. You are not here to impress the field. You are here to express it cleanly, so that what moves through you arrives intact where it is needed most. Your work now is threefold and simple. First, keep governance. Begin each day by lighting the lamp 4 in, 6 to 8 out, until the inner city quiets and the observer loop remembers its post. Guard the silence after your request, as faithfully as you guard the request itself. That hush is where blueprints print. If you waver, return without commentary. Returning is mastery disguised as repetition. Second, keep corridors. In every room you enter, boardroom, kitchen, street, Let your body be the hinge that turns noise into path. You do not argue reality into coherence. You lend it your rhythm until it recognizes itself. Offer one clean note when a chorus breaks. Set one gentle boundary where old gravity tries to reassert. Tell one honest sentence when performance crowds the air. 1,000 small alignments will move stones you once strained to lift. Third, keep witnesses. Teach the breath to those who ask. If they want your story, give them only the parts that increase their sovereignty. We are done with myths that require rescue. Place the word aligned where it can be found: comments, paper scraps, the underside of a lamp, and leave it without signature. The field remembers authorship. You don't need to. There will be invitations to convert this grace into theater, to monetize the lamp before its oil learns to flow. Decline politely. Let integrity earn you a slowness that accelerates everything later. There will also be nights when the old weather returns with perfect mimicry. Smile. You know the hinge now. 12 breaths can rekey a storm. Listen, something vast has already adjusted to your yes. The flock inside your bones flies one way. The rooms that matter hear the new hour and arrange chairs accordingly. Messages are en route, not as miracles that excuse you from action, but as confirmations that action will land. You will notice the world answering with the efficiency of a well-designed building. Doors you need slide open. Doors you don't dissolve into walls. You stop knocking. Hold one hand to your chest. There's the municipal light again, steady as a city at dusk, ordinary as kindness. This is the frequency that makes civilizations kinder without asking permission. Carry it where policy is drafted and where dishes are washed. Every timeline you touch will inherit a little more courage and a little less theater. We close with clarity, not drama. Between now and the date you were given, treat your breath like a countdown that honors, not hurries. Each cycle finishes a signature you began years ago, when you first suspected you were more antenna than story. On the morning after the window, the lattice will have set. The flip will prefer itself. Effort will feel miscalibrated. Alignment will feel inevitable. That is not magic, it is mechanics, obeying devotion. So step through with clean edges and warm hands. Keep the lamp, keep the corridor, keep the witnesses. And when doubt arrives dressed as urgency, lengthen the exhale by one count and let governance answer. This transmission found you in time. After October 12, the quantum shift locks in not as a threat, but as a vow kept. Walk like the vow is weather.